Good morning. How's everyone doing? Welcome back to another episode of Cooking with Carrington. Today we are going into Italy again. We did our pizza on the last one. This one we're going to go a little more intricate, and we're going to go into our um, pesto. A lot of people don't understand or don't really know what pesto is. Pesto is a very old recipe. The ancient Romans, when they were doing their conquest and conquering the world, that's where it was developed in Geneva. And it's basil itself is really a wild flower plant leaf, or if needless to say, it's like a weed because it'll just grow wild, it'll drop seeds and it'll grow again. The thing about the pesto, the amazing part is that back in ancient days, all these guys would be out in the field and fighting battles, and then they had to have something to eat, and they needed to create different, something good. They take these nuts. They had walnuts back then and pine nuts, which we're going to use today. When we go over to the stove, you'll see what they are. There's called pinoles, which is pine nuts, is which I like because it has a wonderful flavor. It's not as nutty as a walnut, but mixed with a little bit of olive oil and your basil and grounds up, it gives a wonderful flavor. So they had the nuts, they had cheese. They found these wild um, weeds that were growing, and they used that, and then of course garlic because it's Italian, and so that's how pesto came about. Now over the years, pesto has transformed, and it has gone to be used in hot cuisine, Italian cuisine, and even your everyday supermarkets have pestos. Pesto can be used hot or cold. I use it a lot on cold salads, where you just take your cooked pasta, rinse it, cool it down, pop it in a bowl, take your some little bit of whatever you like, a little bit of roasted red peppers or just bell peppers, a little bit of onion. You can put chicken in it. You can put shrimp in it. You can put whatever you like in it. You toss some pesto in there, and man, you have just a wonderful dish. Put on a plate, sprinkle some Parmesan cheese over it, and you have a wonderful, quick dish that's light and it's filling, but it is very good. And people go, "Ooh, wow, ooh, that's really nice. Wow." And it's a really simple thing to make. So again, if you look at your recipes and your ingredient list, you'll notice there's not a lot of ingredients in this in what we're doing today, and that is because the dish is very old and they didn't have a lot of ingredients to work with, so they worked with what they had. So what I'm going to go through a couple things. Here's your basil. This is fresh basil picked out of the Herbie Garden. If you ever wanted to order from the Herbie Garden, you can't yet. All right, but this is fresh basil. We're going to use that. We're going to use a a shredded Parmesan cheese. So Parmesan cheese. I'm going to tell you a little bit about Parmesan and cheese in general. Um, Italian cheeses. So when you hear Parmesan cheese, everybody goes, "Oh, that's great." But to be real Parmesan cheese, it has to be grown in the Reggiano area. So you have Reggiano Parmesan. You also have Romano cheese, which I don't have, which is a sheep's milk, but that has to be a Pecorino Romano, has to be grown in the Pecorino region. It's just like France is very particular about their wines. Bordeaux has to be grown in Bordeaux. Champagne, people don't realize, but Champagne has to be grapes that are grown in the Champagne region. All the grapes on the classically French had to be grown in those regions to actually have the name on it. Same thing with your cheeses from Italy. Okay, so that's just a little bit to tell you about. So here's your basil. This is how your basil grows. Wow, if you see it, you see those little flowerings that's coming on the top. Inside of those are going to be little seeds, and those seeds will drop down, and they'll just grow again, and they'll just keep growing. So as you pluck your basil off, you can cut the stem, but we never want to use the stem. Never ever use the stem in cooking. It's not like cilantro. Cilantro, you can use the entire plant because You can use the leaves, you can use the stem, and then with cilantro, you get to the seed, which they call coriander. So in the when your basil, though, the only part you want to use is your little leaf here. Okay, to show you because these stems are very tough, so you don't want to use those. Okay, as we move on, we're going to start to prep everything. So what I want to do now, I'm going to go over and make sure my water's on boiling water so that we can get the pasta cooked off, right? While that's happening, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to toast the pinoli nuts. I'm going to show you the pinoli nuts right now. We're going to get our pan hot, toast them. And as we toast them, you'll see what happens to them. They'll change, the flavor will you'll see they'll change and get a little bit toasted on the outside, nice and golden brown. We don't want them to get black. We want them to get golden brown because if it gets too dark, the oils, because that's what's coloring it, the oils in the nut itself will start to burn and it'll create a very acidic flavor into your pesto. Okay? So,
question, Chef.
Question.
Are pine nuts the only nuts that can be used for pesto?
No, classically, walnuts, you'll see a lot of recipes using walnuts. So you can use any nut you really like. But classically, pine nuts, what they call pinoles, the other ones are walnuts. Now, I know one's asked this question, but can you only use basil in pesto? No, you can also make pesto with spinach. All right, we're using the same format. Just a little tidbit there. All right, my pan getting hot. I'm gonna go ahead and what we're gonna do is we're gonna add this pinoli. I like toasted pinoli, so that's why we're gonna cook a lot of it. Oh, another great
question, Chef.
Question.
What kind of oil are you roasting those pine nuts in?
No oil at all.
Oh.
So when we want to toast
anything, we didn't listen to your right.
I'm sorry?
Nothing.
Yes. We don't, when you're toasting in your pan, well, for your nuts, remember your nuts, any nut has a lot of oil in it. All right. So what we're literally doing is we're bringing the oil in the nut with the heat up to the surface, and then we get a little caramelization on the nut, and then you have a nice toasted nut. That's where your flavors come from. All right. Great question. All right, I'm gonna shake this around a little bit. And you want your pan hot, not too hot. You're gonna watch it, okay? I do this with my hand because I've been doing this a long time. If you can't handle that heat, just get a little rubber spatula or a wooden spoon or anything like that. You can just move them around. I just do it as force of habit. And I've just been doing it a long time. All right, so we're gonna let that go. We have our water boiling, right? Now we want a real strong boil on our water. With the water, this water is going to be for pasta. So, question about pasta water. Do we need to salt the water? I say no. The reason I say no is because there's no benefit in salting the water. Because if you're cooking your pasta at home, you're going to bring it to a boil, you're going to cook your pasta, you're going to drain it, and then what are we going to do? We're going to rinse it with cold water. What is the cold water going to do? It's going to wash the salt off. Now, yes, some pasta expands. And so when that pasta expands, you will get some of that salt flavor into your pasta. My question is this. Why do I want to use a salted pasta in a sauce that I'm going to create and make it that flavor that I want? Why would I want to have a salted pasta into that sauce? So that's just my take on it. Everybody else has their own.
Comment, Chef.
Comment coming.
Growing up, my mom said that you salt the water to make it boil faster. True or false?
Mom is correct. When you add water to the salt, you add salt to the water, what it does, it raises the boiling temperature point. It makes the water to a higher point. Boiling is 212. Once you add salt, it'll stop that. It won't boil at 212. it'll take a little, it'll go a little higher for your the water to boil. But with that being said, I'll just wait till my water boils and I'll add my pasta in. But mom is never wrong, guys. Mom is never wrong, okay? Remember that. Nobody asked this question, but do we oil our water for pasta? Do we put oil in the water? So, have you ever cooked pasta and you didn't have, and you just had your salt in the water or whatever you made, and with no oil, and you went to rinse your pasta and everything, or you took your pasta out and it was all sticking together?
Yes, chef.
The reason is you need a little bit of oil in the water because pasta is going to give off starch. Starch, once it goes and cools down, is going to pull together and try to hold on. When you put the oil in, what happens is it keeps the starch. For one, the oil helps, and I know it sounds crazy, but it kind of sears the starch in. And two, it creates a lubricant so that your pasta won't stick together. All right? So we're waiting on that. Let's get back to our pinoles. They're getting there. Woo. They're getting a little bit dark. We're going to pull these off right away.
Nuts don't need oil.
That's correct.
Yeah. And what kind of oil did you put in the pot?
Pinoles got a little bit away, but we'll still be okay, I think. I got a little bit in-depth in conversation there.
Question, chef.
A little bit dark, so we're gonna go through some of these and use some of these we pull. All right, we pull the dark ones out.
Chef. Hello.
Chef.
Yes.
What kind of oil did you put in the pot with the water?
I'm going to put in some extra virgin olive oil. That's all we're going to use today is extra virgin olive oil. Okay, and we're using extra virgin because we need flavor. All right. My pinoles got a little bit away from me, but we'll make adjustments as we go. All right. So what we're going to do is I'm going to pull out some of these dark ones, and I'm going to also lay them onto a plate. And what we'll do, by laying them on the plate, I'm going to spread them out. It's going to stop them from, it's going to slow the cooking down. If I keep them all together, what's going to happen is they're going to keep cooking. And I definitely don't want any more cooking, all right? There we go. All right, so we're going to let that rest a little bit. Letting our water go some. I love the taste of pinoles. All right, here we go. Water's boiling. I'm going to go ahead and start prepping my chicken. As we prep the chicken, and then we're going to use the same pan that I'm cooking I cooked the pinoles in for the chicken. Again, guys, remember, this is a dish that people would be outside using, okay? So it's a one-pot dish. Not like gumbo, but we're just going to utilize what we have and keep using it.
Hey, Chef, can you show us your nuts and what they look like?
I will show you.
This Miss Orlando.
Miss Orlando, how we doing?
I'm doing good, but I'm in ATL. I'm in Atlanta.
Okay. So my nuts are right here, and I'm going to pull out the ones that got really, really dark because I started talking. But this is what your pinoles look like after they're cooked. Let me show you what they look like before they're cooked. This is what your pinoles look like before. And you can use walnuts, or you can use almonds or anything else, your particular flavor profile that you like. All right? All right. Okay? Orlando?
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
All
Ours
right.
is better than yours, Chef.
The nuts, it gives off flavor. And like I said, as we get ready to use it, we're going to pull some of these that got a little bit away from me. We're going to pull some of those out. And we're going to go ahead and utilize all the good ones. Water's getting ready to boil. I'm going to I'm gonna prep my chicken real quick, and we're gonna sear this chicken off, and we're gonna set it to the side because that's gonna be the last thing that we put in this dish. All right?
Question, Chef.
Yes.
If we're using shrimp, should we start searing the shrimp or no?
You can, I'm glad you asked that question. On the shrimp, you can sear it now, or you can, if you like. But remember, it's going to come down. It's going to be at room temperature as you put it on top of your pasta. What I'm going to do with the chicken, I want it to be a little bit room temperature because the chicken's going to have a little different texture and it's going to have a little different flavor to it. So you can cook your shrimp now if you like. That's entirely up to you. But you can also cook it after you get your pasta done and right before we start the sauce.
Thank you,
Okay?
Chef.
You're welcome. All right. So we're gonna get this hot again. And we're gonna use chicken breast, boneless, skinless. All right. I just bought a butterfly breast already open. All right. And we're just gonna lightly season it. Again, the reason that we're gonna lightly season it is because we want our pesto to be the star of the dish, correct? So why would I don't want to add a lot of salt. I don't want to add too much pepper. I don't want to add too much of anything, just enough to give, well, to give some flavor. Also, I believe in you should never, ever, ever have raw protein. I'm sorry, I'm working in my kitchen. What I do, and at work, I stick my side towel in my apron, so I always have it handy. I may need to grab something hot, or I need to wipe something real quick, so it's always handy. Okay, so I'm gonna do that for you guys today. And I'm wearing, I don't know if you guys noticed, this is the Italian flag. I had to wake up this morning. I had to get myself together and get into the Italian mode. I had to sing to myself, "C'è la luna, let's madre, mamma mia, mara tarde." When your eye meets the sky, it's a big pizza pie. And that's amore. That's what we're doing today. We're making love. That's what the pesto, pronto, pesto is all about, amore, love. All right, here we go. We're going to take just a little bit of salt and pepper. And again, guys, when I send your recipes out, I give you measurements. But again, when we're cooking this, when you're cooking, especially dishes like this, measurements don't mean anything. What it is just telling you what the ingredients are. And because here's the thing, if I'm cooking it for a restaurant, I'm cooking it for a for an institution, anything like that, I want to make sure that I consistently use measurements so that the dish always comes out the same. When I'm cooking this for home, I don't use measurements. I use love. I use the feel. I use the ancestors to let me know that, yeah, that's red, that's good, or that's not. Because it's all about your personal preference. So here's our chicken breast. All right. So we also want to talk about safety. You notice I cut the chicken on a separate board. Then I'm going to cut everything else. And I'm going to pull that board off now. And we're going to get rid of it because we still want to make sure to maintain our safety aspect. I'm going to come back over to my pinoles because I know some of them are still cooking and some are still going to have a little bit. They're going to still continue to get a little darker. I'm just checking them out. We're going to pull some of those out. And the rest of them, this is what we want it to really look like when it's done. I'll show you. I'm going to show you in 1 second. All right, just kind of what we want them to look like. That's what we want them to look like. Just a little golden, all right? What we call in French, we call it bird noise, they call it noisette. I'm going to taste me something. I love cannoli. Water's boiling for pasta. So pasta that I have is called cavatappi. All right, so cavatappi is if you want to think of a double elbow. All right? And this is what it looks like. All right? I love cavatappi. The reason I love cavatappi, two, I love the shape. The second part about it is it also has what they call rigat in it, rigati, which means it has lines in the pasta itself. So what happens is when you're making sauces, when you have those lines or ridges, ooh, those pinoles are good. You have those lines or ridges. What it does is it holds your sauce. All right. When you add your sauce to a dish, it holds it the sauce better than a plain one, a straight smooth pasta. All right.
Question, chef.
Yes.
So that pasta looked like twisted macaroni. Is that like twisted macaroni?
So it is. If anything, it would be what we call a double elbow. So it'd be two elbows turned backwards, and they put it together. Great question on that is because all pasta, or most pastas, is the same dough. It all starts from the same format, the same dough. Once it's pressed and then put through a machine or done by hand, however it may be, is what makes the difference in the pasta itself. So if you have fettuccine, linguine, spaghetti, capellini, angelini, agnolotti, if you have cavatappi, muscatoli rigati, penne, it is all the same dough. There is no flavor difference. The only difference is the cut. Okay?
I have a question, Chef.
Yes.
Usually when I'm cooking pasta and it's wheat pasta or spinach pasta, it's a little coarser, so it takes a little bit longer to cook. Is that true, or is that just in my head?
No, it is true. It's also, I'm going to say it's two things. It does take a little longer to cook, but also that texture is definitely, I'm going to, because of what we're used to as pasta, the semolina flour, the whole build out and everything. Once you add spinach or even tomatoes or especially wheat, it will seem coarser. It's a different bite to it. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. So is there something added that I should do? Because I'm trying to stay away from the white flour, or because I've kind of gotten used to it, but people that aren't used to it can immediately tell the difference. So is there something I can do to cut down on that coarseness?
Not really. Not really. The only thing you can do if you cook it longer, but then it's going to change your texture. And then it's also, if you cook it longer, the reason that you're using it is for being health conscious. And if you cook it longer, you're going to cook all the nutrients. You're going to cook more of the nutrients out.
Okay. Okay. So they just need to deal with it. Got it.
Yeah, it's just kind of. Here's that love I talk about. You hear that pan? You hear that sizzle? I'm going to go ahead and put two in. Then we'll cook the other one by itself. All right, so I'm just going to sear these off real quick on each side. While they're cooking, my pasta is going, right? To a boil. So we're going to cook our pasta what we call al dente. Al dente means just to the bite. All right? And again, and that's where when you're talking about the wheat pasta and the your wheat pastas and your flavored pastas, when you're talking about texture, it's always going to be a little bit firmer. I don't, and we use wheat pasta a lot where I'm at right now because we feed a lot of children and we have to be child nutrition. So wheat is one of the things they have to have. But it to me, it almost is not pasta anymore. That's just me. But I grew up, I was a chef at a couple of Italian restaurants. So I'm very, very traditional when it comes to Italian food. So when you add in wheat and spinach, spinach is nice for the color, but you're not gonna. What's the nutrient? Read your nutrients on the back of your box and read the nutrients on the back of your regular pasta box and tell me what is there a big difference? You know, because you don't taste. I don't ever taste the spinach in the pasta, and that's just me. And maybe it's because, but I don't taste the spinach in the pasta. I don't taste the tomato in the pasta. I've even had what they call squid ink pasta, and I don't taste the squid ink in that either. Yeah, it's just me. I think it's as far as the wheat goes, I think that has to do with nutrition. But I think as far as the other ones, it's more about the look. It's the look of it. That's just how my personal feel. You can take it for what it's worth, but that's my feel. Do you think? Good question. Do you think using your spinach pasta? Do you taste spinach in the pasta when you bite into it? Question?
No, I don't. I don't taste the spinach,
Right.
but I've kind of gotten used to the taste, so I kind of like it. But I don't taste spinach per se. I'll be
Right.
like, do you add spinach?
Exactly. So in the old days, guys, I would take that pasta. Yeah, no, I wouldn't do it, but that's what they would tell you. You know when pasta is done is when you take it and you throw it against the wall or you throw it on the ceiling and it sticks. That's when you know it's done. That's not. I don't want you guys starting throwing pasta in your kitchen, and I'm not gonna throw it in this one either. We're gonna give that pasta about 2 more minutes. Oh, one thing I wanted to mention to you about the basil. So I told you it was a wild weed and it grew wild in Italy. Well, here's a great thing to know is that the trade routes, food moved across the world. Okay? A lot of trade went through India. Basil in particular, when it got to India, they domesticated it. Now, what does that mean? That means they actually worked the basil to the point where it wasn't considered a weed anymore because they planted it, they grew it, they worked it so that it wasn't as rough or as rustic as it used to be. So that's just a point of just some information. All right, my chicken's going, pasta's going. Oh yeah. So I'm gonna pull my chicken out right now. Chicken's gonna be just a little bit under, which is okay, because and I'm putting it back on the board. We'll have raw chicken because we're gonna cook this chicken again. All right, and when it cooks again, it's gonna be in the sauce, which is gonna bring it to 165 degrees. All right.
Question, Chef.
Yes.
Is that the same for the shrimp?
You can do the same for the shrimp. Actually, for me, I would like to keep the shrimp separate. I like to put the shrimp on top of the finished pasta. That's just my preference and how I want the plate to look. Pasta, yeah, pasta's ready. So we're gonna pull the pasta off. Turn the fire off first, right? Pasta is right to the bite.
Question, Chef.
Yes.
Back to the seasoning. So this is not the time to use the all-purpose. I won't say the brand names, but the red seasonings that every household has.
Red seasoning. Oh. All right, so you're talking about commercial seasoning salts or seasonings. I don't particularly use any. I only use one actual commercial seasoning myself. Again, we're talking about health reasons. Most of those seasonings that you'll see on the market, if you read it, the first one or two ingredients are going to be salt. So if you're trying to be healthy, you're defeating that purpose. Also, when you start using those seasonings like that, you lose control of your you lose control of your flavor profile, put it that way. So we're not going to use a name brand, okay? What we're going to say is everything's going to taste the same if you use a seasoned salt. All right.
Question, chef.
Yes.
Do we rinse our pasta?
I did rinse my pasta. Yes, I did. Now, great. That's a great question because at home or for something like this, I'm going to rinse the pasta because it's going to set for a minute or so before we actually use it. In a restaurant, I would actually have pasta cooked already. Oh, I'm sorry. We'd have the sauce going already. I would cook the pasta. I go straight from the pasta into the sauce. The reason being, there is flavor in the starch, in the water of the pasta also. And that's from the starch, not from the extra salt. All right. So here's our cooked pasta. Can we see it? There's
Yes,
it, cooked
chef.
pasta. All right. Notice how it moves around. It's not sticking together. I'm going to pick it up. You see? Can we see that? It just falls. It's not sticky. There's nothing gummy left on my hand or anything like that. And that's because of the oil. The oil seared that starch in a little bit, and it makes a nice texture for the pasta. I had to wash my hands, guys. All right, so I'm going to set this over here. We're going to turn this chicken over. Then we're going to make some pesto. Any questions about anything so far? I'm going to work on these nuts again. You got a little bit away from me. Oh, okay. Oh, they're okay. They're actually pretty good. I keep eating them. A little bit, but we'll be there. Any questions about anything else?
No question, chef.
All right, I'm gonna rinse this piece of this basil off because we're gonna use it too. We're not gonna waste it. This basil is beautiful. I love basil. And if you can see what I'm doing, I'm actually pulling the leaf off the stem. You see these little bulbs here? They're gonna make flowers, and those flowers are gonna drop seeds. All right, and your seeds are gonna grow more basil. All right. Any questions so far, guys? All right. All right, we'll start making pesto. So when we make pesto, the first thing you do is you want to put, your recipe calls for 4 cups. Your recipe calls for 4 cups of 4 cups. I'm sorry, packed cups of basil, right? So the reason I say packed cups because once you pack the cups into the once you pack the basil into the cup, you want to push it down and make sure it's full and everything else. But again, that is subjective to how much basil you want to use in your pesto. All right. Also, basil holds for a long time, so you can make basil and you can make pesto. And you can package it. You don't have to freeze it. You can put it into a container. And you just pour a little extra layer of olive oil on top of it, and then you cover it, and it'll last for quite a while. All right. Here we go. I'm gonna go grab that other piece of chicken. As soon as I put my basil into the food processor. And you can use a blender, you can use a hand emulsifier, you can use a mortar and pesto. And if you don't know what a mortar and pesto is, everybody has seen them. All right? And you've been somewhere, I'm sure, and you've seen a bowl with like a big, almost looks like a big club inside of it. All right, that's called a mortar and a pesto, and it's used for grinding anything. You can make flour. You can grind down anything. You can make almond flour. You can make anything you want with that mortar and pesto. All right, chicken's coming off again. Got some nice color to it. Gonna set it down. We're gonna let those rest. All right, we're gonna turn our fire off, guys. That's important. All right, Pignoli's got a little bit of weight, but we're gonna still be okay. So I'm gonna go ahead and we're gonna chop some garlic. Now we've chopped garlic a number of times before, so everybody knows how to do it and they understand it, right? All right.
Appreciate it, chef.
Here we go. So this is a whole head of garlic, and what I'm doing is I press it down. I lean onto it so that it just loosens up the cloves, and I can use the cloves that I need, and the rest of the garlic is still usable for later consumption. All right, I'm gonna take all the rest of this husk off that's loosened up, and we're just gonna discard it. All right, and we're gonna put that over there. So now what we're gonna do is we're gonna go ahead and pop the cloves. All right, and when I say pop the cloves, I'm gonna lay my knife on the top, thick part of the knife, blade sticking away from me, my hand up in the air, okay? And I'm just gonna use the heel of my hand and I'm just gonna pop it lightly. All right, same thing. Make sure your garlic is rested nice so it doesn't slide and you don't cut yourself. Here we go. We're just gonna pop it nice. So once we pop, you see how it splits open and I can just pull the husk off. Does that make sense?
Yes, chef.
All right. Get all that husk off. We don't want any husk in our pesto.
No husk in the pesto. No husk.
No husk in the pesto. There you go. All right. Get that open. Wow, this little clove actually had about 6 little cloves inside of it. And that happens. That's cute. That's all right. So it goes. We're going to go back. And we're going to pop these again. And this is the reason why I like to, not do this ahead of time. And not just to show you the finished product. Because things happen with food all the time. And you need to know that nothing is ever perfect. The idea is to make it as best as you can with what you have. Is that making sense to everybody?
Yes, chef.
See, if I did this beforehand, you would have never known that you could have a clove that would have more cloves inside of it. All right. So all these little cloves that came out of that one clove. So we have to go back and pop them all because they're thin, they're a little bit lighter. Okay. And we still do the same thing. Peel that husk off. No husk in the pesto. I like that.
No husk in the pesto.
There we go. All right. Get all that husk off. You don't want any husk in your pesto. All right. Oh, yeah. So does anybody have a garden?
Yes, chef.
All right. If you have a garden, even if you can start, well, it's a little late to start, but you can start some seedlings, even in the house, and put them out on your, or you can just leave them on your windowsill. And you can grow basil very easily. And you can use basil. And look at this. Look at this, guys. We're getting more and more cloves out of, wow. This is a rarity. I've seen it happen once or twice before, but it's very rare when you actually get a head of garlic and you pull out one clove and then the clove will have other like miniature cloves on the side, which is very, very interesting. All right, so, but we won't make sure that we don't have any. Nobody's gonna say it. I'll say it.
No husk in the pesto.
There you go. I want to make sure. All right. So, got one more here. Another way to break them, you can just pull it back and pull it down. All right. Clean it up. Again, subjective to your flavor, guys. What do you like? You like garlic, you like cheese, Parmesan, or you like basil, you like oil. It all depends on what you like. But we always want to start off with the leaf, whether it's spinach or basil. Okay? So we're gonna go. We're gonna pulse it a little bit. Okay? So what I'm doing, why I did it, why okay. So the reason I did this, I do the basil or the whatever leaf you're gonna use first is I want to, when I start spinning it and getting it starting to go, it's going to release the oils in that actual leaf. Those oils are going to help give you more flavor, right? I could throw everything in here at one time, and it'll all grind up and it'll taste okay. It'll taste good, but it won't have that layers of flavor that I'm looking for. Because this is what this is. So if we put something in a dish, we want to make sure that it's in there for a reason. It's in there for the taste. It's not just in there to make, some people make a menu and they bring all these fancy things on it. Problem is, you go to taste it and you don't taste any of it because it's all been twisted together. So what we try to do is I try to create layers of flavor. So when we're doing certain things, even if we're cooking or sauteing, maybe just for a rice pilaf, I don't just throw the onions, carrots, and the celery in the pan together and saute it. I saute my garlic a little first, then I saute onion, then I saute the celery, then I saute the carrot, then I actually saute the rice a little bit, and then into the pan, into the pot if it's going in the oven, or I'll add my stock and go ahead and finish it that way. That way, when you go to taste that dish, you should taste everything that's in the dish, right? If I throw, it's like fruit salad, guys. You ever take fruit salad and you make a fruit salad, you mix all your fruit together, after a day or so, can you tell the difference between them? They all taste the same. And that happens when you're cooking too. All right. So I'm gonna just take this top off for a second, and we're gonna just take a look at it.
Question, Chef.
Answer is yes. Yes.
If we wanted to use this basil pesto that we're using now and put it, to go back to a show that you did last month, as a base for our pizza.
Oh yes. Yes, definitely.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
I'm glad you mentioned that. So I was just talking earlier before the show, and we're gonna get off topic for a second, but we'll come back. That pizza dough that we made, guys, you can make a couple other things with it. You can bake it off and make it as, like we talked about, like a focaccia. If you just bake the dough itself and then you go ahead and put a topping on it. You can actually fill it, cut it and fill it into individual pieces, almost like an empanada, and you fold it, crimp your edges on the dough, cook it off in that oven in the same format, and you have a calzone. Or you can lay the dough completely out and square it off a little bit, and then you can put layers of salami and pepperoni, whatever you want, roasted red peppers, mozzarella cheese, whatever boat you want to get on, and then you just roll it up, crimp your edges, and you bake that whole thing off just like that, and then you have what you call a stromboli. All right, and I should have mentioned that last month, and I didn't. But yeah, there are a number of things to do with whatever we make. It's not what we're making now. Nothing is, this is the only way. This is the only thing we can do with it. That to me, that's when I teach cooking um, in the field. That's why I teach technique and not recipes. All right. We teach technique, not recipes, because I can teach you a recipe and that's all you're going to know. And as we're talking about these recipes, I taught you about techniques as we go along. Because if I teach you technique, you can apply those techniques to a number of different things. So just wanted to go back to that real quick. All right. So now what we're going to do is we're going to turn out full blast. I'm going to speak louder, and I'm going to add the olive oil, extra virgin olive oil. We're going to talk about that in a minute too. We're going to add the extra virgin olive oil.
How much olive oil did you put in there, Chef?
There was a question.
Yes. Question.
How much olive oil did you put in the blender, and did you blend it a little bit by itself before you added the olive oil?
Yes, I blended the basil a little bit by itself, and then we added the olive oil.
How much olive oil?
This one it's going to be just about a quarter of a cup or so, but we're going to be adding more as we go. Okay, so you just want to start off with a little bit, and then we'll go from there, guys. Let's scrape this down a little bit. All right. All right. So We're gonna have to continually scrape down, okay? And then we're gonna add, we got the olive oil in there. Now I'm gonna go ahead and add our garlic, sans the husk, right? We add our garlic in there. No husk in the pesto. Still just finger it through it. We're just gonna add the garlic. So we have the olive oil in there. We have garlic in.
No
Oh,
husk in
one
the
thing, some people.
pesto.
Yes. Someone have something to say? No. I'm gonna post this a little bit. I'm gonna take it off and I'm gonna scrape down to make sure, as you can, I don't, if you can see inside, I'll show you in a minute what it looks like inside your blender. Smelling good. So here we go. I'm gonna go ahead and so I stop and I keep scraping down so that we can make sure it keeps blending. Okay. We're gonna add in our cheese. Oil. Right. Now it's getting there. It's sounding good. So you can grind this as long as you want. Again, that's your that is profile. Like, by the way, this is you can make this a vegan dish also just by not adding the actual Parmesan. You could actually get some vegan cheese, and it's a vegan dish, or you don't have to add cheese at all. I'm going to show you guys what it looks like in the blender, the food processor. All right. So this is what it looks like. Can we see that?
Yes, chef.
This is what pesto looks like. So now there's one other thing that I'm going to put in here as we blend, and that's going to be black pepper. Black pepper is going to kick this up a little bit. Now there are people you can put crushed red pepper, you can put cayenne in here, you can put whatever you want. Again, this is your pesto. All right. I like the way black pepper actually works with basil. That's just my personal preference. And because of the pepper, the pepper itself and that earthy floral or aromatics basil, you get a nice, to me, you get a very, very nice, nice flavor. And actually, we talk about taste and how we taste. And this is one of those things that you definitely taste with your nose first. All right.
Question, chef.
Question?
So to make your dish spicier, you spice the pesto, not the protein.
You can spice. You can spice whichever you like. So if you're going to use this pesto just one time, and you want to make that dish spicy, you can add your spice into the pesto. I mean, that's entirely up to you. Or you don't have to spice the protein. What we can spice is the actual reduction that we're going to do with the cream. Okay. All right, here we go. We're about at the end, right, guys? All right. So now, what I'm going to do, I'm going to taste it, see what the flavor profile is. I like. All right. And because, and this is another thing that I've said, and I think I mentioned it, is this holds so long. You can make this, put this in your refrigerator. It's not like guacamole or anything like that. It'll hold up. It'll stay. It won't turn colors on you unless it gets oxidized. So that's why when you put it in a container, you definitely want to make sure that you add a little oil on the top, and that oil acts as a barrier between the air and the product, because that air, the ambient, that refrigerated air, will actually oxidize and make it turn a little black on it. Okay. So here we go. Let's taste it. And I love pesto. I mean, I just taste it. And this is what it looks like. Everybody see it?
Yes, chef.
All right. Peppery, aromatic. I taste the cheese. The garlic comes right at the end. Remember, because the garlic is raw. So you're going to feel that. You're going to taste that towards the end. It's good. I'll tell you what else pesto is good on. If you like to make vegetarian sandwich, you take your bread. Actually, if you take that pizza dough, cook it off. You can actually split it if you want, or just leave it as the focaccia on top. You can spread a little pesto on top of it and put your tomatoes and some any kind of vegetables, any kind of cheese you want right on top of it. Cut it and eat it like that. You can actually take I like sourdough bread with a veg. I like it with pesto. I like it with mozzarella, tomatoes, and then just a little bitty tiny bit of Parmesan on top. Close that up and just press it and toast it. Tastes amazing.
Question, chef.
Yes.
Notice you did not use any salt.
No, I did not. Why? Anybody tell me why I didn't use salt? I didn't use salt.
Like salt.
No, I do like salt. You want to know why?
Why?
Because I'm using Parmesan cheese. I don't know how much salt is going to come out this cheese when I grind it, because remember, your cheese is going to have salt in it, sodium in it. So I don't know how much is going to come out until it's ground up. And that's when I taste it. And then if I need salt, I add more salt. I will add salt then. Okay. So remember, whenever you're using cheese, especially Parmesan cheese, Romano cheese, or any kind of grated cheese, there's going to be some sodium that they've added into that cheese. Okay. All right, guys.
Thanks, chef.
You're welcome. So what we're going to do now, Jake, can you grab me one of these? What we're going to do now, oh, right there, on top. Yeah, thank you. I'm going to go ahead and take this out and put this into a bowl. So I want you guys to be real careful when you're taking this out, okay? Because, that blade that we just used in there, that blade is very dangerous. It's very sharp, and it could actually cut you very easily. So this is a blade, and even in the kitchen, we don't put this blade in the sink or pot sink for anybody. We hand it to a dishwasher, or we wash it ourselves. We don't want anybody to get cut with this. It's a nasty cut. And because what you don't know about that blade, and you might look at it, it is a little serrated on the edges. So the cut is not a clean cut. It's going to tear your skin, which makes it even harder and longer to heal. All right? So be very careful with that blade. All right, here we go. But again, it's not cheap to make, but it goes a long way. Does that make sense?
Approximately how much pesto do you now have?
Right now, well, we didn't start with 4 cups of basil leaves. So we probably started with maybe about 1.5, maybe 2 cups of basil leaf, which is okay. So approximately right now, I would say when you add everything else in, we probably have, by the way we probably have about, minus the bowl, you probably have about 4 ounces, 4 to 5 ounces. So you have a little more than a half a cup. But again, you'll see this goes a long way. And that's what I want you guys to think about. It's going to go a long, long way. All right. So if I were going to, as I spoke to you a couple times already about this, because I want you guys to realize these are things that you can keep in your refrigerator for a while. So if I was putting this into a container to keep in the refrigerator, what I would do is I would take my extra virgin olive oil, and this is the only time you'll ever see me cook with extra virgin olive oil, and I'll get to that in a minute. I would take a layer, just a thin layer of extra virgin olive oil to pour right on top. It will not soak in. It'll stay right on top. And then you can actually wrap it up, put it away. And when you get ready to use it, all you do is stir that oil in. Okay? The extra virgin, so I think we talked about olive oils before, but we're talking about it again. So extra virgin means it is actually the first pressing of the olives. And that first pressing of the olives, it has what you call a very low smoking point. So when you go to heat it up, you want to cook something with it, it's gonna smoke really quickly. It's gonna burn very quickly. The extra virgin, the virgin olive, and the extra virgin is great for things like salad dressings. It's great for if you just want to make a dip for some bread or something with garlic and seasonings and cheese, and you just want to use it as a dip. It's great for that because it has great flavor. It's that first pressing. Then what they do is they take all of the extra, everything that's left after the first pressing, and they press it again. That second pressing is what they call virgin olive oil. Now, virgin olive oil, you can cook. You can cook with. You can do it. It's very versatile. You can use it for salad dressing. It won't be as strong or with the olive oil flavor as the extra virgin, but it'll still have that flavor there. You can cook with it if you're very careful and watch your temperature control. You can do a lot of things with it. Then they'll take everything else again, and then they'll also take the pits from the olives and they'll press it one more time. And normally they'll add another oil to it to blend, and that is what's called pomace olive oil. Your pomace olive oil is what you would actually cook with. I really wouldn't make a salad dressing or anything else with pomace, but it's good to cook if you want a little olive oil flavor, say on a scallopini or something like that. That's what I would use. Okay, so we got all that going, right? How are we looking, guys? How's everybody looking? I didn't ask. How's everybody doing? Is anybody making it?
Orlando with Atlanta in the house doing great.
All right. Are you guys spicing it up?
Yes,
Yep.
we added a jalapeno to ours.
Jalapenos. See now.
Yes, sir.
All right.
Yes, sir.
Jalapeno. But when we talk about peppers, guys, I want you guys to know that there's more peppers out there than jalapenos. What would be nice in that? Maybe a poblano or an ancho, something with a little bit of a smoky, rustic flavor to it, as opposed to just a jalapeno, which is going to give you, jalapenos do have a good taste to it, but it's just going to give you mostly heat. You understand what I mean?
Yeah, I understand. That was all we had, though. We didn't think about it. I just had Frigidaire.
You didn't have any cayenne pepper in there?
Oh, but yes, most definitely.
Little cayenne would work.
Oh, yeah. Got that too. Put some cayenne in there.
All right. So I just want to make sure that we don't turn this into a Tex-Mex or a Mexican dish. All right. I hear crickets. All right, here we go. All right, here we go. So we got our pesto made. We have our pasta made. What's the next thing we're gonna do, guys? We're gonna make some pesto cream. Before we make pesto cream, though, let me talk to you a little bit. And I mentioned it before. I want you guys to notice because if you have this pesto in your refrigerator, right, guys, and you come home one night and man, I don't feel like cooking. What am I gonna do? I want something good. You might have some bell peppers around. You may have some onions around. You may have, any kind of vegetable around. You can either roast them or blanch them or do whatever you like. When you cut it up and you mix it up and you can actually just put your pesto directly on that. One of the other things you can do is just take pesto with uh, um, mozzarella, fresh mozzarella, slice it, and with tomatoes, and you put your pesto on it. So it's a capri, is what it is, salad with pesto, which is very nice. Or you could even just drizzle your olive oil over that. So these are little things that you can do that'll be quick, easy, nourishing, and taste great. And it'll be light, and it's really one of those things. One of the other great things you can do is a warm pesto salad. Okay, pasta cooked, drain it off, get it clean, room temperature. Throw your pesto throw your veggies, whatever you want into it, and throw your pesto directly into it. Toss it. If it's a little bit dry, add a tiny bit of olive oil to it, and you have a nice, very nice. Oh, a little bit of Parmesan cheese, and you have a nice pasta pesto salad. One of the other things that I like to do, and we're going to use a little cherry tomatoes today. I like cherry tomatoes with pesto. For me, it has a good flavor, especially when we're going to just char them a little bit, and then we're gonna mix the cream in everything. And what happens is when you bite into it, man, it just bursts in your flavor. It bursts in your mouth with that tomato flavor, the cream, and the pesto with your pasta, and man, you got a nice dish rolling. All right, so here we go. We're gonna go ahead over and we're gonna start making our yes.
Hey, chef, question. Is that Parmesan cheese in front of you in the bowl?
Yes, it is. That is a Parmesan. So,
Okay.
and another thing, guys, when you buy your cheeses, man, I don't know everybody's financial area, but I will tell you this. I like to buy quality always. Quality to me goes longer and it's normally better for you, but it actually lasts longer than most of your economy items. So if you're gonna buy cheese, I'm not gonna tell you to go buy Reggiano Parmigiano. That's probably about $30 a pound. But I will tell you there's brands out there that are really good Parmesan cheese other than Kraft shredded parm. All right, and for something like a dish like this, that's just my take on it. Nothing against Kraft because I use Kraft a lot, and I use Kraft shredded cheeses a lot also. But if I'm making a dish like this, I want to make sure I'm using a high quality Parmesan. All right, that's my commercial for today. Okay, here we go, guys. Back to the pot. Now, in this dish, what we're going to do, you can go ahead and you can put, if you want to put onions in this, you can put whatever you want. You don't have to put anything in it, actually, to be honest with you. I just particularly like I said, cherry tomatoes in with it. And I'm going to bring my chicken over to the board because my chicken is part cooked and we're not going to cut anything else. I'm going to go ahead and cut my chicken on this board. And I'm going to cut it in a way that hopefully it stands out in the sauce, okay? And I said hopefully.
Sorry,
yes?
question, chef. Is now a good time to cook the shrimp if we didn't cook it before?
Yes, now is the time. Now you can saute your shrimp. You can roast your shrimp in the oven. I like roasted shrimp if you season it and put a little olive oil on it and put it in a nice hot oven, about 425 degrees. Takes about 6 to 9 minutes, depending on the size shrimp you're using. I just particularly like roasted shrimp. I know a lot of people like sauteed or grilled. Roasted shrimp has a really good flavor. You made lots in all that shrimp flavor. All
Okay,
right.
tell me what you do, chef, again. If you roast it, you said put it in the oven with a little olive oil on the bottom and season it on top. Is that what you said?
Put your seasoning on it and then put a little olive oil on it and mix your shrimp around.
Got it.
Then put it in a nice 425 degree oven. It has to be a hot oven.
Okay,
Not for baking, so it's gonna be for roasting, okay?
okay, got it. Thank
All
you.
right. You're welcome. All right, here we go. Towel here. That's why I usually keep my towel on my waist. All right, I'm gonna put just a drop of oil in this pan. I don't want a lot. We'll get it moving around. So it gets nice and hot. All right. Okay. We're gonna go ahead and add one pepper just to see if it's hot. It should sizzle a little, right? We need a little more heat on there, okay? So we're gonna let it go. A little hotter. There it is. I'm starting to get a sizzle right now. I hear a sizzle. A sizzle, sizzle. Okay. So what happened just now? Did we hear that?
Yes,
All
chef.
right. So what happened was the tomato on the bottom just got a little bit blistered, which is what I want, and it gave off some liquid. And the liquid mixed with the oil, and that's why you get that sound. All right. So here we go. We're gonna add some more tomatoes. Be careful when I think I put it on the recipe. Be careful when you add your tomatoes and make sure your tomatoes are dry. All right. You don't never want to add anything wet into oil. Okay. Hear that?
Whistling.
Yeah. That's the searing from the oil on the tomato. Blistering now. If you can see it, see that? You see the blistering of the skin? That's what we want.
Yes,
See
chef.
that one burst a little bit? So the heat is what it's doing is the heat is heating up the moisture that's inside. It's almost like a microwave. Microwaves work on moisture. So the heat is heating up the moisture inside the tomatoes. Tomatoes are about 50 to 60% liquid. All right? So now when that's going, that's right. Pick it up. We're gonna go ahead and add our heavy cream. All right. So when we add the heavy cream, depending on how much pasta you're gonna use, how much you mean, this is where the your portion comes in, not your pesto. Pesto is gonna stretch. Heavy cream is gonna give you your volume. That's what I should say. So we're gonna go like this. We're gonna add our heavy cream in.
Approximately how much heavy cream, chef?
I'm gonna go ahead and add about a pint of heavy cream. Maybe about I'm gonna add about 24 ounces of heavy cream. All right. So this is a quart, 32 ounces. So I added about like 24 ounces or so. All right, and I did that for a reason. We're gonna let that cream cook. All right, and we gotta be you have to be careful with your cream though, because we're gonna let it rise. It's gonna rise up. We want to make sure it does not rise over the pan. It's gonna rise up. We want to make sure it doesn't rise over the pan, over the pot. And then we're gonna bring it down and we're gonna let it reduce. So by reducing it is where we're gonna get the thickness, the viscosity, if you want to say. So the reduction of the cream, so the fats in the cream are gonna start stretching, and it's gonna push the liquid out, and the fat is gonna tighten up. All right, and that's where you're gonna get viscosity. So if you think about oil, car oil, they talk about viscosity, 40 weight, 60 weight, whatever. Same thing when your reduction of your sauces and creams. Okay, so we're gonna let that reduce. Let's take a smell. Not much smell yet because we only have tomatoes in there, right? Correct?
Chef.
Yes. All right. All right. While that's reducing, I'm gonna come over here, guys, and I'm gonna cut my chicken. All right. How are those shrimp doing? Did we get them in yet?
Almost. We just finished stirring them up with the obey and Tony C's and olive oil.
Oh
We're getting ready to-
no. No, that's good, guys. We're gonna talk about a blog. I'm gonna show you how to make your own seasoning mixes. It's a lot cheaper. You have more control, and trust me, you'll like it a lot better. I want you to read when we're done with this. I want you to read the back of your ingredient list on those labels, and then see really what they're putting in there. And don't worry about the part where it says other spices. Just the part that just the part that they have to put on there in the your first. Look at your first. I'm gonna say 3 to 4 ingredients. All right, and then we'll talk about making your own ingredient mix. Okay, because it's so easy to do. I'll tell you right off the top of my head, one of the simple kitchen ingredient that I use, seasoning that I use a lot of. It's just about 1/3 salt, 1/3 pepper, and 1/3 granulated garlic. And that's what I use as an all-purpose seasoning. All right.
Chef, you're cutting your chicken on the bias. Is there a reason for that?
Well, I didn't really cut it on the bias. I just cut it I didn't cut it the lengthways. I cut widthways. So I didn't cut it on the bias. I didn't cut it sliced. I didn't slice it on the bias. I should have showed you. I'm so sorry. But I cut it widthwise. The reason I cut it widthwise because I wanted to make more consistent cut along the way. All right. So if you look at them, it's pretty consistent in slicing.
Your cream?
Yep. Is it coming up?
It's up.
It's up. That's what we're talking about. So now we're going to lower it down a little bit. All right. There's 2 ways you can bring it down. You can go and you can use a whisk, or you can just use temperature. So I'm just using temperature right now. So now I'm going to take my spoon. I'm going to go in here and I'm going to spin it around. What this is doing, you see how it's going down?
Yes, chef.
All right. So because I'm incorporating cool air. As you're spinning it, that's what a whisk does. It incorporates cool air. Okay? This is what we're going to do. Oh, yeah. Now I'm going to turn my flame back up because now I'm here to control it. Thank you. And just let it go. We're going to keep letting it reduce now. Now we may not it shouldn't rise again. If it does, that's a really good heavy cream. That means there's a lot of the milk fat in it is very high. Okay? Because what I did is what we did by the first rise actually took a lot of the moisture out, the liquid. If you want to say we talked about whey. Remember we talked about whey? So it took a lot of the whey out. And now what we have in here is the fat. All right? It was not curds, but it's the fat that we can actually turn into curds. Okay? So we're gonna go and we get a little bit of rise. So this is a very good heavy cream. And then all you have to do, go ahead and stir. And by stirring, you're incorporating cool air. See those bubbles coming up? Those bubbles are hot. That's steam coming up. That's what that's turning into. And when you see the more bubbles, that means your sauce is getting thicker. All right? But you can just move those bubbles around and just the ambient air, because it's cooler than the air that's in the pot, will actually bring it down. Okay? How's that looking, guys?
Thickening up, chef.
Yep. And there's a couple ways you test thickness. You do it with a spoon, a wooden spoon, and it's called a nap or nappe. All right. The other way is you test it on a product. I like to test it on a spoon, and what it does is how fast the viscosity is, how fast or how slow the drip happens. You see? So you see the drip? Very slow. Just holding it. It's just hanging onto the spoon, right? Can you see that little piece right there?
Yeah.
So that is now thickening up. All right? I'll show you again. So when I pick it up, we're going to get a quick drip up. See, the drip's even getting slower now. So that means we're getting body on this. And that's what we want. Not making a stallion, but we're getting body. All right? Body on. That's what it is. Body on. All right, here we go. Now, if you look at the difference, see where we started with the cream and where the cream is now. Traditionally, what they say is the cream should reduce in half. I don't necessarily like half all the time, but the cream should definitely reduce. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to add my chicken. All right. Even the juices from the chicken. Remember, the chicken was almost all the way, not all the way, as we can see. All right, we're gonna add that. We're gonna let it go. That down here. I'm gonna go ahead and stir it around. Now I'm gonna slow the whole thing down. All right.
So once you add the chicken to the cream, you lower the flame?
I'm gonna lower it just a little bit. I don't want the chicken to boil. So the reason I don't want the chicken to boil is because that tightens up your the protein, the chicken. The chicken in particular, if you know when you boil chicken, if you start it boiling, it's fine, it'll get tender. If you cook it, if you change cooking process, it'll get a little tight on you. So that's not what we want. We really just want it to come up to temperature, and it's gonna heat, get the thickness, and give a little flavor into there also. Everybody looking? All right, so now I'm going to show you. This is the little.
Sure.
Yes.
We're good, thank you.
We're
Still
good,
waiting
you're good. All right.
to 425 though, so I haven't put my shrimp in yet.
All right, put that shrimp in. We're going to be eating without you.
I know, I'm trying to wait for my oven to get to 425.
Okay. All right, there we go. Let's take a look at it again. So it might have loosened up a little bit because of the chicken. But we still, you see that body on there? Still, the viscosity is still pretty good. All right. Now we're going to go ahead. We're going to add an extra bit of pesto. Yay. Did anybody taste their pesto?
Did we taste it? Oh, yeah. Oh, I'm about to roll over again.
Okay, you got it.
Watch your cream. Watch your cream. Spin it around.
I caught it, Chef. I caught it.
Gotcha. All right.
Put this in now. But he put the chicken in first, I think.
Yes. All right. You see that? See how much that little bit of pesto created?
Yeah.
That's the color you want. Now we're going to let that cook a little bit. And we're going to add our pasta. And then just a dab of Parmesan cheese. You can do this two ways. We can add the pasta in here, or we can put the pasta on a plate and then add the sauce onto it. And if you're gonna put the pasta in the plate, normally you would just have a little boiling water and then drop your pasta in and pull it right out. It's already cooked, it's ready to go. And then we'll just put it on the plate and it would suffice also. All right. So what we're gonna do is we are going to taste it first. That's good. See what it tastes like. Smells good. Now, on this, I'm gonna add a little more pesto and a little bit of salt, just a drop. So now we know where our salt level is, right? And that's what we're gonna do. So, but you see how it's getting thicker and thicker?
Yes, chef.
All right. That is sounding good. So good. We're gonna use all this pesto. But again, we didn't start with the 4 cups, so. All right. There we go. Green going. Gonna add a little bit of Parmigiani. We're gonna add our, I would like to go ahead. I'm gonna go and I'm gonna ladle this over our pasta. Okay? And we'll put a little bit on in the bowl. Our pasta's good. Mix it around. Now I'm gonna add the salt. I'm gonna put the salt, just about a teaspoon or so. Yeah. All right, guys. We are near the end. We're gonna let this, I'm gonna slow this down a little bit now. We're gonna let that cook. Just let it slowly cook. All right, here we go. E la luna le mare, mamma mia, mana tarde. When your eye meets the sky like a big pizza pie. That's amore. Yes, that is amore. All right. So I could have showed you guys something else that I do with basil also. I'll take the leaf and I'll fry it, just the leaf itself, and use it a lot of times just as a garnish on a dish.
Jeff, that looks divine.
Does that look good? Thank you. We're not finished yet.
Chef, you put the pesto sauce in the cream, right?
Yes, I did.
Okay.
After the cream reduced,
It reduces, yeah.
Okay.
then we add the pesto sauce. I added a little bit of salt to mine. Again, I want to test, see what it tastes like before I salt it, which I did. We're gonna add a little bit of Parmesan on top.
Jeff, we're showing you our shrimps.
Okay. Let's see them shrimp. Ooh. Oh yeah. Tell me how you like the flavor of those like that.
Okay, we'll
Okay.
They should be nice and juicy and have a little, maybe like a little crunch almost when you bite into it, but then really nice and juicy.
Okay.
Awesome. And then, oh, a little bit of pinoli. So I'm gonna add a little bit of pinoli on top. Again, some of them got a little bit away, but I think they're still good. They taste good. And
Did he put the cheese? What did he do with the cheese? I don't know the cheese. I don't know. Is that what he's using the cheese?
there we go. Manja abbondanza.
Oh, that looks delicious, Chef.
Does that look good?
Yes.
Thank you.
Chef, I mean, the Parmesan cheese, did you put it inside of the heavy cream too?
I didn't put any in the heavy cream. No, if we did that, then we're going into what we call an Alfredo. I don't want that. I don't
Oh,
want that same. I don't want that stretchiness in the cream.
so
That's
we're just
why
gonna use the Parmesan cheese on top if you
I
want.
sprinkle a little bit on top. That's all.
Okay.
It's really more for garnish because you should have the flavor in the already in your pesto.
Pesto. Okay, gotcha. Gotcha.
It's looking good.
Yes, chef.
All right. Well, any other questions? Q&A? Hey, cousin, you still on there? You got your mic off.
Yeah, I'm here.
You're here? Okay.
Thank you. Thank you. This was great.
It was good.
I
Thank
made mine
you.
veggie.
Yes, that's it.
I didn't put the protein,
There you go. And that's the
but it
great
was
part
delicious.
about this. Great part about this, and people understand, and I want you all to understand, is that you can do whatever you want to this, and because it's an old recipe, an old dish. It was whatever that they could find that they put in. We have just elevated it and enhanced it by adding all the proteins and things like that over the years. But you can do whatever you like. And again, if you have some left over, which you guys probably do, a little bit of oil on top of it, and it'll last. It'll last for a long time. Okay. Hey, thank you all for coming. It's been a party in your mouth, as always, where we love to elevate and educate here at Cooking with Carrington. Be sure to look for our next class coming up. One thing I'm going to ask you guys to put some pressure on you. Tell me what you guys want us to do. Okay? No matter what it is. I'm actually doing a lot of vegan and vegetarian cooking and menus right now for the place that I'm in. And I'm doing some really whatever it is you like, tell me so that we can make it and we can introduce like we talked about Orlando, introducing the healthier type of less heavy protein, more on the I don't want to say vegan or put a label on it, but more of the healthy. I know people are talking plant-based and all those things, but just different things. So let us know. We'll be glad to do it. And as always, it's been a journey and a pleasure cooking with Carrington. Bye now.